There is a moment, a quiet, unsettling moment, that most people have experienced, but very few can explain. You walk away from a conversation, and something feels off. Not because someone yelled at you, not because they insulted you directly, but because somehow, without fully understanding how it happened, you ended up defending yourself against something you never actually did. You ended up agreeing to a version of events that wasn't yours. You ended up feeling small inside a story that someone else wrote for you. And the most disturbing part? You didn't even see it happen. That feeling isn't confusion. That feeling is the aftermath of a language trap, one of the most sophisticated and least discussed forms of psychological manipulation in human behavior. Words, when arranged with intention, don't just communicate ideas. They construct realities. They build invisible walls around your thinking. They quietly rewrite who you are, what you believe, and how you see yourself, all before you've had a single second to object. The human mind is wired to respond to questions, to fill in gaps, to accept the frame of a sentence before challenging its content. Manipulators know this. They have always known this, and while most people think of manipulation as something obvious, a lie, a threat, a guilt trip, the most dangerous manipulation is the kind that hides inside perfectly normal-sounding language. It hides inside a question. It hides inside a concern. It hides inside what sounds like a simple observation. Consider the sentence. Why do you always overreact to everything? On the surface, it sounds like feedback. But buried inside that sentence are two loaded assumptions: that you always behave this way, and that your reaction was an overreaction. Before you even answer, you've been handed a false identity and asked to defend yourself inside it. That is a language trap. And the terrifying truth is that most people walk into these traps dozens of times a day without ever realizing the cage was built before they arrived. Understanding this isn't just intellectually fascinating. It is one of the most practically powerful things a human being can learn. Because once your eyes are open to the structure of these sentences, you cannot unsee them. And what you can see, you can escape. Language traps come in many forms, but they all share one common design principle. They force your mind to operate within a framework that was chosen for you, not by you. One of the most common is the loaded question, a question that smuggles an assumption inside it and demands that you respond without ever questioning the assumption itself. When someone asks, "Why are you so difficult to deal with?" they haven't asked whether you are difficult. They've already decided that you are, and now they're asking you to explain it. The moment you answer, even to defend yourself, you've accepted the premise. You've stepped inside the trap. Another deeply manipulative structure is the double bind, a conversational design where every possible answer you give reinforces the manipulator's narrative. Imagine someone saying, "If you really cared about me, you wouldn't need me to explain this. If you ask for an explanation, you've proven you don't care. If you stay silent, you've proven the same." There is no exit inside that sentence. Both doors lead to the same conclusion, and that conclusion was written by someone else. Then there are presupposition-heavy phrases, sentences that bury their most damaging content inside subordinate clauses, spoken so casually that the mind absorbs the assumption without flagging it as something to examine. Even someone as sensitive as you must admit that. By the time you're processing the rest of the sentence, you've already swallowed the label. This is not accidental. This is architecture. Psychological research on framing effects consistently demonstrates that the way information is presented shapes how the human brain processes and responds to it, often completely independently of logic or evidence. The mind doesn't just receive words, it builds a world from them. Manipulators exploit this neurological truth with a precision that most people never pause to appreciate, because the sentences sound so ordinary. And that is exactly the point. The most effective trap is the one that doesn't look like a trap at all. It looks like a conversation. It looks like concern. It looks like someone simply trying to make a point. But underneath the surface, the architecture is deliberate, and your sense of self is the target. So what do you do when you recognize a language trap mid-conversation? The first and most powerful move is the one that feels the most counterintuitive. You pause. You resist the pull to immediately respond, because that pull is exactly what the trap was designed to create. Manipulative language works on urgency. It works on the social pressure to answer quickly, to not seem defensive, to appear cooperative. The moment you slow down, you reclaim the territory of your own thinking. The second move is to name the assumption, not with aggression, but with calm clarity. I'd like to address that, but I don't agree with the premise of the question. That single sentence dismantles the entire structure. It steps outside the frame entirely, rather than arguing within it. And the third move, perhaps the most transformative, is to stop measuring the success of a conversation by whether the other person agrees with you. Manipulators often use language traps in situations where agreement is never actually the goal. The goal is control. The goal is to keep you inside a narrative where their authority over your identity remains unchallenged. When you understand that, you stop playing the game on their board. You stop needing to win an argument that was never honest to begin with. This is the deeper psychological shift that separates people who are perpetually vulnerable to manipulation from those who move through life with a grounded, unshakable sense of self. It isn't about becoming cold or suspicious of every conversation. It's about developing what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your own thinking as it happens, to notice when a sentence is pulling you somewhere you didn't choose to go. Language is the most intimate technology human beings have ever created. It builds relationships, cultures, entire civilizations. But in the hands of someone who understands its psychological mechanics and uses that understanding without conscience, it becomes a cage. And the only way out of any cage, always, is to first see the bars. Once you see them, they lose their power over you completely. Your awareness is your freedom. If you're benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.